Well, hello everyone. The time has finally come to get my Raptor fixed. I am just about to Zapps Powder Coating in southern Indiana to see and pick up my new powder coated parts for the first time. I'm super excited. I've only seen one photo and I just know pictures don't do Zapps work justice. So I'm super excited to share the new parts with you. Before we get there, I just want to give a shout out to Powersports Nation, and they were a huge help in sourcing some of the OEM parts that I needed to get my quad fixed. Long story short, the quad ended up taking a bit of a tumble and the steering stem pushed into the gas tank, and it did enough damage to where I wanted to do a frame swap. And also have to give a shout out to Illinois Powersports, because my mechanic Jay at Illinois Powersports is going to be helping with the frame swap tomorrow. So a lot happening in this video, but there's a lot of people that have came together to help me get my quad back up and running, and there's a few new parts that are going to be on the Raptor that I don't have yet, so those will be in later content. But I'll quit rambling. We're just about to Zapps. I am stoked, and let's see what these parts look like.
Zapps Powder Coating is run by father and son team, Bob and Logan Zapp, and it's located in southeast Indiana. They offer a full range of services from sandblasting, gusset installs, and of course powder coating. I discovered Zapps a few seasons ago after seeing someone post a build with their paintwork, so I made sure to write down their name. Zapps also sponsors over 20 ATV racers and a mix of disciplines from XC to MX to flat track, and Zapps' dedication to the sport ATV scene made it an easy decision for me to send them my project. When I arrived at Zapps, I was greeted by Logan, and he gave me a tour of the shop. Logan used to part out ATVs and has quite a collection of carb YFC 450 frames, so if you need a carb YFC frame, definitely hit him up. First, we walked past their ovens, and there was a primered and plugged frame prepped for its final coating. And then I got to see the spray booth, and there was plenty of racks for staging and holding parts. He also showed me all the various sizes of plugs he has to protect the threads and tight clearance areas for certain projects. Then we walked past the sandblaster and made our way into the office where he had my parts waiting, and as expected, photos did not do them justice, and I was super eager to get them outside in the sun so we could see the finish. But before bringing them outside, Logan showed me his parts display, which featured a wide variety of paint styles and colors. It was impressive seeing all the different finish styles in person, and if their shop isn't far from you, I 100% recommend going there to select colors ahead of time. Zapps is also a Glan Innovations, Checo Racing, and Rossier dealer with parts in stock, and if he doesn't have it, he can get it for you. Next to the display wall was the powder room, which had their huge collection of colors. They specialize in multi-stage powder coating, which I learned is pretty difficult to do correctly, and after seeing all the different paint styles and finishes on the display parts, their quality seemed second to none, and it really seemed like the sky was the limit for their abilities and the results. Now it was time to check out my parts outside. After seeing the parts outside, it took everything to a whole new level. The frame is gold glitz, which has a bit of a metallic sparkle to it, and the remaining parts are illusion ruby, which has a very smooth and almost liquid look to it. This build theme was actually inspired by another one of Zapps' clients, and after seeing photos of that machine, I knew it was the route I wanted to go. I've always liked the look of gold contrasting with red, and I'm just stoked I chose Zapps for this project because I think they really knocked it out of the park. And before wrapping up, Logan had one more color he wanted to show me in the sun, and I'm not sure what it was called, but I'd say if you can dream it, I think Zapps can do it. And next we carefully loaded up everything, and it was time for me to head 5 hours back north to Illinois for the next day's frame swap.
Alright, fast forward to the next day. I am just about to Illinois Powersports. They are my main shop for doing any work, and Jay and his team have allocated the day to doing the frame swap on the Raptor, so I'm super excited to see them in action and to do some filming here. I'm not going to be changing all the parts on the quad. I didn't bring some of the new front plastic I have. I don't have the graphics kit yet. The wheels I brought for the front are just kind of temporary. So hopefully everything goes smooth here today, and these last couple pieces that I'm missing will come together in the next 2 weeks before our Dune trip to Oklahoma, to Little Sahara, Oklahoma, and we will be there October 12th through the 15th, I think, are our riding dates. So we'll do some more posts on social media, but hopefully we see some of you guys there in about a month's time. And I guess next stop here is the shop, and we'll see what this is all about.
Before starting the frame swap, I figured I would recap what all happened to the quad. Unfortunately, my old throttle cable needed maintenance and I didn't fix it in time. I pulled up for a third gear wheelie and the quad stayed under power and I slipped off the back when the grab bar hit the ground. This resulted in the quad taking quite the tumble, and it was quickly determined that I had bent the frame and the steering stem was pushed in towards the gas tank. Pretty much all the damage was to the front half of the machine. The steering stem was bent in, the radiator was mangled, and several mounting tabs on the frame were bent in and flaking, exposing raw metal. The top left front ball joint also snapped when the quad fell on its side, which catapulted it into a pretty epic backflip, and thankfully the A-arms were good and most of the parts I needed were OEM, which gave me the opportunity to reach out to Powersports Nation in Nebraska. They're the largest OEM off-road salvage parts company in the country and have supported Michael Sabo with lots of projects. They quickly jumped into action and sourced a donor machine to part out, which helped with the replacement costs on several parts. So if you're looking for used but good condition OEM parts, then reach out to PSN directly, because if they don't have it, they will most likely find it for you. So I just want to give an extra shout out to them for their help with this project. So when I arrived at the shop, they already had the Raptor stood up and had begun taking it apart, and due to copyrighted music in the shop, the majority of this rebuild is time-lapsed music. So here we go. So the quad was finally to the point where it was time to do the first startup, and unfortunately it did not want to turn over. The fuel pump wasn't turning on with the key, and the start button had no power. Initially they thought something within the harness had to be the issue, so Jay and Aaron troubleshot every possible option that they could think of, and after a couple hours of tedious testing, they discovered my map pressure sensor was bad, and so was my factory ECU. So Jay changed out the map sensor and swapped out the factory ECU for a Vortex, and immediately we had full power and the fuel pump was priming and the quad would start.
Wow.
It was a bummer to have to replace the stock ECU, but I have been low-key wanting a Vortex for quite a while. The Vortex ECUs give the tuner a lot more data and customization, and on the YFCR they drastically improve the throttle response, so I'm hoping for a bit crisper response on the Raptor. Overall peak power shouldn't be any different than the Power Commander was, but if there are any differences, I should notice it pretty quickly since I have quite a bit of seat time on this machine. Now that the quad was up and running, Jay wanted me to take it for a quick test ride to see how the alignment felt. Unfortunately, my audio did not record for this portion. Needless to say, I was pretty stoked to be back on the quad, and it was pretty crazy that just the previous day, this had started out as a bare frame. I ran the quad up and down the parking lot a few times, and everything was shifting smoothly and the alignment seemed great. However, the tune was just good enough for the quad to run, and it desperately needed fine-tuning at idle. And speaking of tuning, I'm sure several of you were surprised to see the new Dasa exhaust on the quad. I decided to change it out for a few reasons. I've been a Dasa fan for quite a while, and I know they make good power on the dyno, and Jay happened to have this all-black full exhaust in stock, and I just knew it would look sick on the quad, so I had to go for it. It's a little bit quieter since the muffler's 4 inches longer than the R5 was. But it still has a great exhaust note to it, and I also really like the Dasa end caps, and it's the first exhaust I've had with a ceramic coated header, so it'll be interesting to see what that looks like over time. Now it was time for Jay to work his magic on the dyno. He's told me several times his favorite job in the shop is tuning, plus he really likes the Vortex software, and the timing was great for him to dial in the new exhaust. I've decided to stop this video here, so the dyno video is on its own, which should make it easier to find for future Raptor owners considering a Vortex ECU. Last but not least, thank you as always to everyone for buying parts and merch on PeteHager.com. I'm stoked to be a Dasa dealer now and have plans to add more brands to the website over the off-season. If you're in the market for parts that I don't offer, feel free to shoot me a message on our website and I'd be happy to look into getting them for you. And as always, thank you again to everyone that's helped make this build become a reality, and I cannot wait to share more. Until next time, you guys ride safe, and we'll catch you on the next one.